in it. So you have an attitude of really being, of treating it as something precious, not to be superstitious about it, to see the logic of it. Makes sense. It's your methods. And with the Sangha, it's having an attitude of respect to anybody who's living in the fullness of the Vinaya of Buddha's instructions about ethics, you know, which is called monks and nuns. Something like that. Very roughly, something like that. Something like that. And then the vows. So my feeling is we'll do that first. It's very short. And then those of you who then I think we'll just talk a little bit about the Bodhisattva, the attitude of the Bodhisattva vows, the next level. But the ceremony itself, which is coming from His Holiness in this book I'm going to use, it probably takes 45 minutes. And my sense is because we want to try and do the preliminary. There's two things to the empowerment. Okay, there's two things for the empowerment for His Holiness. One is today, there's about 90 minutes of what they usually call preliminary practices. So including in there is just one short prayer where you would take the Bodhisattva vows, but there's no explanation of anything. So we'll do that. I think we'll do that today. So we'll do the refuge and lay vows for those who want to do, renew or take for the first time. Then we'll go straight into His Holiness. I'll talk a bit about the Bodhisattva verse first, a bit about the attitude, and then do the preliminary ceremony with His Holiness, 90 minutes. So that means, you know, for you East Coast people, for Don and Lou and other people there, you'll probably be up till 3 o'clock if that's what you want. That's okay, up to 3. And the other people will be up to midnight for the Americans, and Australians and Europeans are okay. So, and then we'll do this Holiness thing for 90 minutes, the last 90 minutes, His Holiness, which includes this one prayer where you take the Bodhisattva vows. But I think tomorrow morning, before we do the actual empowerment, which is in 2 hours, the final 2 hours of our sessions together, we'll talk more about the Bodhisattva vows tomorrow and do this sort of ceremony, which is coming from His Holiness anyway, which is it's more kind of, it's a little bit more added to it, more aspirations, more prayers, more practices. That's kind of very nice to do it as a ceremony. So we will be doing it anyway with His Holiness, with this short prayer. We'll do it properly, more detailed tomorrow morning before we do the actual empowerment. So I hope that's clear, people. I hope that's clear. So for those who want to renew or take refuge for the first time, or would like to renew your refuge and your lay vows, and you should, if you can, if there's space, you should do 6 prostrations. You should think in your mind, the person giving them, you see 3 prostrations to that person and 3 prostrations to the images of the Buddha. So you do 6 prostrations all together. And if you're not sure how to do them, just follow the person next to you and we can discuss that later. So we'd like to do that now, those who'd like to do that. And you don't have to do any of this if you don't want to. It's only if you want to. If you'd like to do that, you can do that now, please. Just if you can squeeze in your 6 prostrations, do your best. If you just do it physically with your hands, good enough. It's okay. And then you kneel on your right knee. And the thing is, if you're going to do the empowerment with His Holiness as an empowerment, you need to have refuge and lay vows and the Bodhisattva vows. But you just got to do it as a blessing. You don't need anything. You just listen to it and enjoy. So be clear what you're doing. Be clear what you're doing. So you kneel on your right knee. Okay. So you just, that's the other thing I didn't say, and this, what can I say? You're supposed to be clear that the person you're taking it from, you're prepared to kind of, we're sort of developing a relationship, you know. So you've got to be aware of that. If you don't want that, you need to sit down. I mean, I'm just a peanut, but I've got good resources. I've got good teachers. So if you value them, maybe you can put up with me, you know. So I've got to say something like that because it's important that you choose. You're choosing it to do today with this particular person. You create some kind of connection together. You know. It's important. Okay, so you repeat after me. Venerable. Venerable. Please listen to me. Please listen to me. Just as, oh, what is it? What is it? I, whose name is You say your name. From this moment, the time of my death, I take refuge in the Buddha, Supreme Being. I take refuge in the Dharma, Supreme Path. I take refuge in the Sangha, the Supreme Community. Please accept me. And I'm going to say the word upasika, which means a person holding these kind of vows and commitments. As an upasika, until the time of my death, venerable, please listen to me. I whose name is, from this moment until the time of my death, take refuge in the Buddha, Supreme Being. I take refuge in the Dharma, Supreme Path. I take refuge in the Sangha, the Supreme Assembly. Please accept me as an upasika until the time of my death. Venerable, please listen to me. I whose name is, from this moment until the time of my death, take refuge in the Buddha, Supreme Being. I take refuge in the Dharma, Supreme Path. I take refuge in the Sangha, Supreme Community. Please accept me as an upasika until the time of my death. So I'm going to now say this is the method, and you're going to kind of cheer and say, excellent. This is the method. Excellent. So now I'm going to click my fingers now. I do a very poor job of clicking my fingers, but imagine I am. And then you're thinking, I find this very powerful, I got this from my teacher, and they got it from their teacher, and they got it from their teacher. And if you track it back, it'll be an unbroken chain of living human beings. So it's like if receiving this, imagine when I click my fingers, you receive this straight from the Buddha through all these amazing human beings, as beings all the way up to present. You're connected to the Buddha and all the beings over the years, over the centuries who've practiced. How marvelous, think like that, receiving it directly from the Buddha. Be very happy. You've now imprinted your mind stream with this refuge commitment, this refuge and connection to the Buddha. So now those who want to renew their vows or take the vows, you repeat after me. You now call me Lopon, which is kind of one of the words for teacher. Lopon, please listen to me. Just as the Arhat is like meaning enemy destroyer, a person who's achieved the goal, either their own nirvana or Buddhahood. Just as the Arhats of the past have refrained from killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, and intoxicants. So will I, and you repeat the ones you're going to take and be silent for the rest. So will I, whose name is. Say your name. From this moment, to the time of my death, will refrain from killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, intoxicants. I will follow. I will do it. Lopon, please listen to me. Just as the Arhats of the past have refrained from killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, and intoxicants. So will I, whose name is. From this moment until the time of my death, refrain from killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, intoxicants. I will follow. I will do it. Lopon, please listen to me. Just as the Arhats of the past have refrained from killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, intoxicants. So will I, whose name is. From this moment until the time of my death, will refrain from killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, intoxicants. I will follow. I will do it. This is the method, and you cheer, excellent. This is the method. Excellent. And now feel that you kind of, again, receive these in your mind stream, this kind of psychological, powerful thing will be in your mind. Like Alex Berzin says, like it's in the teachings, like a subtle physical energy that's visible to clairvoyance, something so potent psychologically about implanting this into your mind stream. And be very happy Just having the vows. You've got to, I mean, it takes time to think about this, but for me, this is the joy of having. You've got to understand this and have confidence in this. Just by having these powerful decisions in your mind, you are all right there programming your mind every second. And vows have such power that every second you are keeping them, you're putting atomic bombs under these tendencies. You can't wish for better than this if you're trying to be a better person. It's like brilliant, you know. You're so happy receiving these directly from the Buddha. So, of course, if we've got these vows, it's marvelous to do the purification practice. I think we'll talk about that tomorrow. And if you have vows and attempt to be a good person and do purification every day, you have a perfect practice, I promise. You can sit back with your feet up, eat popcorn, and watch telly all day. I'm not joking. I'm serious. Because all these other practices are so potent. And of course, we're not great yogis and yoginis. We need tools like this, you know. So we did it. So we're done. Sit down, relax. That's it. Cheers. All right. Okay. So now you've got the documents already, but I think those of you who've taken for the first time, you need to email me after this. The ball's in your court. You need to email me, robinacourtin@mac.com, robinacourtin@mac.com, MAC, computer, mac.com, my full name, no full stops, no periods. And then you got the thing, and I'll send you a letter about the daily practice, and also I'll give you a name. Your first name will be my name, which I got from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Tubten, the 13th Dalai Lama's name, Tubten Gyatso. He got it from Ling Rinpoche, his guru, and then Lama Zopa gave this name to Lama Zopa, and he gave it to me. I'll get his name, Tubten. Tub means one of the many words of the name for the Buddha, coming from Tubwang, like Tathagata or something. I don't know which one it is in Sanskrit. I don't know. And then ten means teaching. So their first name is Tubwang. Tubten. Your first name is Tubten. That's better, yeah. And your second name I'll give you when you email me, okay? That'll be your own particular name. Okay? Everybody who did it first. Thank you, darlings. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, people. Now I think what we should do, 3:15, 3:20, we're going to do the preliminaries with His Holiness. The preliminary practices, and just listen to His Holiness. Nothing for me to say, I don't think. If there's any point I think it's important to, where's His Holiness going to be? On the screen?
It's going to be on the screen, yeah.
Okay.
If we need to pause.
No, I'm not discussing that. I want to just me watching His Holiness. So it won't be on here.
Yes, it will be on there as well.
So I won't see the people. That's fine. But how can they see His Holiness?
I'll put it through the screen.
They will see His Holiness.
They will see His Holiness.
So have His Holiness on here as well?
Yep.
Okay, so I can sit this way. Okay. I haven't got eyes in the back of my head yet. Okay, so my feeling is, so what we're going to do, I think we just listen. Let's do it. And just, if you don't want to take the empowerment, you just listen and enjoy His Holiness, you know, and get a blessing. That's the thing, I think. Relax about it. And there'll be all sorts of things you mightn't understand. It's okay. Do your best. Just relax and do your best, you know. But one part will be when we do the short prayer, 11 lines, taking the Bodhisattva vows. So and then tomorrow, I think we're going to go into more detail doing this ceremony. It makes it more tasty. Like I said, that we'll do that before we take the empowerment. You sort of theoretically would have taken them today with this ceremony, but we'll go into more detail tomorrow. It really helps a lot. And as I said before, it's a ceremony from His Holiness, directly His words, you know. It really does help. And then we'll go through the purification practice as well tomorrow. We've got several hours tomorrow. And then we'll do the empowerment itself from His Holiness, with His Holiness. So really, because it's you know, because it's Tantra, it's different levels of Tantra, different levels, but there are prerequisites before we enter into Tantra, including this one, which is, I think is Kriya Tantra, the first one, the first four. This one, there are the three sets of vows. There are the Pratimoksha vows, which we've taken. This is the layperson's vows, or the monk and nun vows, the vows of individual liberation. Then you've got the more advanced vows, the Bodhisattva vows, which are much more outrageous because there's more of them. They're still about not doing this and not doing that. They're still about behavior. But they're about the first level. I just don't do it to protect yourself. There's no wriggle room. This lot are based on the motivation. And the purpose of these is to help you understand, help you help others. This lot, the first lot, to help you protect yourself. This lot is to help you help others. So here, each, and we'll go into these more detail tomorrow morning. I think we can do that this time. But you also got the commentaries, you can read them. These are like, don't do this and don't do that, but they're related to the motivation. which implies if the motivation's good, you don't break a vow. So they're more expansive, they're more powerful, and you can't play with these. And also with the bodhisattva vows, because they're for the benefit of others, and they imply more wisdom, you can even break an earlier vow, lie, for example, when it's genuinely for the sake of others. You can't play with that. And of course, the highest beings, the greatest bodhisattvas can even kill, would not be negative. There's a story of the Buddha, this marvelous story. And you've got to really understand this. Otherwise, it doesn't fit with the world. It's quite shocking to hear it. But the Buddha, one of his earlier past lives, when he was a high being, a high bodhisattva with clairvoyance, amazing qualities, with wisdom, with compassion. It's a famous story. They always tell. Of course, it's told in different ways. He's on some boat. He's a captain of a boat or something. There are 500 merchants. And he sees with his clairvoyance. And of course, clairvoyance, it's not some hippie-trippy thing, but it's actually one of the consequences of getting samadhi. These genius Indians invented it 3,000 years ago, discovered this capacity of the mind to see things at a subtle level. It's called clairvoyance. It's not some hippie-trippy thing. It's a powerful capacity of the mind. And as Buddha says, we can't really begin to benefit others until we have this. And you can really see the minds of others and know how to be of most benefit. There's a story of the captain. He was a captain, and he was a bodhisattva, but you can't tell. He wasn't walking around with a halo, but he's on his path, becoming a Buddha, and he bop along from life to life, benefiting sentient beings. So he sees with his clairvoyance, one dude on the boat is going to kill everybody and take everything for himself. So he has incredible compassion for this fellow, not just the 499 merchants, compassion for this person because of the heavy negative karma he would create and the harm he would bring to himself. So this is a real compassion of bodhisattvas. When we understand karma, that you are the beneficiary of not harming others, then when you realize that what you do brings results to you, you'll begin to have compassion when you see the harmers and you realize they're harming themselves. That's the real basis of the compassion of the bodhisattvas for all sentient beings. That we're ignorant of cause and effect. We don't realize we harm ourselves. And that's the real basis. We only like to have compassion for the little mice and maybe a pussycat and a dog or something, maybe a child. It's too limited. When we really understand karma, you'll understand that sentient beings are harming themselves. And that's the basis of compassion. So there's a story here. So the Buddha sees this unbearable action this guy's going to do, and for his benefit, he decided he would kill him, and he would happily go to the hell realms instead. Would happily take a lower realm suffering, didn't care for the sake of this person. That level of compassion, the Bodhisattva teachings to me are too much, they're too outrageous. It's hard to conceptualize the levels of compassion the Bodhisattva's path talks about. It's too hard to even hear it to me. It's quite intense. They're way beyond the level of compassion that we can even imagine that we can accomplish. Extraordinary teachings, actually. So that level of compassion, that he would rather have the suffering by killing this person to protect him from future suffering. So the story is that he did that. Of course, he's not going to stand there and say, I'm a bodhisattva, I'm about to kill this guy. No, he just takes the consequences. But the point is, because of his motivation, this is the point about motivation, which is the basis of bodhisattva vows. His motivation was so utterly pure, so huge, so compassionate, prepared himself to take on himself unbearable suffering. That level of compassion actually hastened his own Buddhahood. Not even any negative karma created at all. So we have to understand how that's possible. Otherwise, it's just too heavy. We think a bad person, you think, oh, there could be a bodhisattva. We don't want to think that. So the bodhisattva teachings are quite powerful, actually, quite extraordinary when we understand. And of course, the tantric teachings are even more amazing. That's the third level of vows. And they're not involved here. Only when you take the highest tantra that you take the tantric vows, not here. But you do need anything to do with tantra, Chenrezig, any of those practices in the bodhisattva path, Chenrezig, Tara. If you take the empowerment, you necessarily must have the bodhisattva vows. And to have bodhisattva vows, you must necessarily have the lay vows. And if to have lay vows, you must necessarily have taken refuge. Otherwise, you take it as a blessing, it's perfectly fine. And the lamas allow that more and more. You just get the blessing, you're not taking a commitment. So the general attitude of the first level of vows, ones we just talked, are to protect yourself. The vow is don't kill, but the reason is because you don't want future suffering. You've got to understand this. We miss this completely in the West. We just don't get that. We think it sounds selfish. It's for your own sake. Yes, it is for your sake. Yes, it's like eating well. No one criticizes you for deciding to eat well. They think you're intelligent. When it comes to spiritual things, we think it's selfish. It's a bizarre idea. Fundamental first ones. You do not want future suffering, so don't cause it. Incidentally, others will benefit. Now here, more proactively, you want to benefit others. You're still curtailing your behavior by taking these vows, but it's the reason behind it is for the benefit of others. It's much more wisdom implied. It means it's forcing us to think what's best for the other person. So, for example, Amy might ring me up and say, "Come for dinner," and I'm sitting back, relaxed, eating my popcorn with my feet up. "Oh, I'm sorry, not tonight, Amy. Darling. Well, I just broke a vow." Preventing her from creating the merit of offering me a meal. So the thing to do is to think what's best for the other person. It might not be, in which case you make another decision. It makes you conscious. You become conscious. You don't play with it. You don't say, "Oh, I'll go for your sake, Amy." No, you shut your mouth and you shut up and you go. Even if you've had your dinner, because you know it's more beneficial. But you don't have to. You can have another reason. But you become much more conscious. It makes you think of what's best for the other person. It's huge, really. I mean, we usually just do anything for our own sake, So sometimes when I go down the street, they give you little cards advertising. I always take one. "Thank you very much. Very kind. Just offered me something." Or even, especially with vegetarianism, we get very fundamentalist, "Oh, I don't eat meat. Thank you." And you leave the food there. Well, one time, one Lama I know, his attendant was with him and the person offered meat. And the attendant said, "No, I don't eat. I eat vegetarian." He said, "You eat that meat." Someone offered it to you. If you vomit and die, that's fine. I mean, do you understand? It's whatever's benefit to the other person. This is really quite huge. But you can't do that if you haven't got wisdom. You've got to get a bit of wisdom and be conscious. It helps you become conscious. This is the general idea behind the Bodhisattva vows. That's what I wanted to say here. There's no time for much else. We'll do the ceremony with His Holiness, relax, just listen, get the blessing, and then we'll do more detail tomorrow morning. Okay. I think that's the method. I think that's what we should do. So I think we should all stand up, and when we see someone, we should all prostrate to him. If you'd like to. You don't have to prostrate to him if you don't want to. If you'd like to. Can you put on my screen as well?